Vintage, CDA. Chapter 1. My father usually comes home from work at 7 p.m. The man lost his job in 2011, and he has been looking for a job since then. Until next summer, the pool will be under construction. Please be quiet. I am working on a difficult question now. Sandy was studying in the library when I saw her 2 hours ago. When Ken comes home from school this afternoon, his mother will be cooking roast chicken. Are you free tonight?
I'm sorry, but I'm having dinner with my parents.
Do you mean that the whole building belongs to you? She resembles her sister in appearance, but not in character. She has been absent from school since the day before yesterday. When I arrived at the classroom, the English exam had started already. The professor read my technical report, which I had written the day before. Paul's yacht will have arrived at Hawaii by the end of next March. There is a new road to the freeway. They just opened it yesterday. He visited Chicago many times when he lived in the U.S. We have been to Nara, and now we are leaving for Kyoto. We are all tired of snow. It has been snowing for 4 weeks now. Mr. Brown had been waiting for nearly 30 minutes when his client arrived. He will have been working at the local hospital for 10 years by the end of next month. Mike and Bill have known each other since they were children. I'll wait here until you come back. You have to return the book as soon as you have finished reading it. Your host family will be waiting for you at the train station when you arrive. Mr. Tanaka is out now, and I don't know when he will be back in the office. The game will be called off if it rains tomorrow. I'd really love to go to the concert because my favorite band is playing, but I'm not sure if my mother will say okay. Look at those black clouds. It is going to rain very soon. I was about to go out when my boss came in. It has been 10 years since the two companies merged. 10 years have passed since I left my home to work in this city. Our grandfather has been dead for almost 10 years.
Chapter 2. The tallest building in my town was built 50 years ago. He was chosen captain of the team by the boys. How often are the flowers watered during the summer? The presidential election will be held in 2 years. Fortunately, the hospital's new air conditioning system had already been installed when the first heat wave of the summer arrived. It has been hard to concentrate on my studies lately because a road is being built in front of my house. On her way home from school, the little girl was spoken to by a stranger. Nobody likes to be made fun of in public.
Chapter 3. May you all be happy and well. He can't be Mary's boyfriend. Can it be true that he bought a sports car? Excuse me for rushing off. I must get back to the office. I promised I would be on time. I must not be late. He must be in because I can hear his radio. My brother was in an accident a few days ago, and I had to take him to the hospital then. Oh, it's already 11 o'clock? I've got to go home now. You don't have to talk about yourself if you don't want to. You have only to send me an email. The train for Osaka will be leaving in 2 minutes. You should hurry up now. He ought to look after his children better. I ought not to tell my father the true state of his health. In many schools in the USA, you need not wear a uniform. How dare you speak to me like that? We all tried to push the truck, but it wouldn't move. Finally, we called the car service center. Peter would rather stay home than go to the movies. As it is raining, I would rather stay at home. He would rather not see this movie. If you have a toothache, you had better see the dentist right now. You had better not go jogging after dark in this neighborhood. In fact, since French fashions were so popular, American dressmakers used to change their names to French ones. My sister used to live in Chicago, but she moved to Los Angeles last year. When we were children, we would go skating every winter. Tom may have been there yesterday, but we didn't see him. The wedding party must have cost a lot of money. There were a lot of guests, and the hotel was the best in the city. Kate can't have lost her way, for she has come here several times. I should have called you this morning, but I was too busy to do so. Our French teacher ought to have arrived here by now because he took the early bus. You are soaking wet. You shouldn't have gone out in the rain.
I know, but they were expecting me.
You ought not to have kept her waiting on such a cold night. Contrary to the weather forecast, it did not rain yesterday. We needn't have brought all our raincoats and umbrellas. It is regrettable that Annie should waste her artistic talent. It is essential that the documents be kept in the safe. You cannot be too careful in the choice of your friends. Anyone watching the musical cannot help feeling happiness, joy, and pride. I could not but help my brother with his math homework. Tom may well be angry. I might as well stay at home as join in a package tour. It takes so long by train, you might as well fly.
Chapter 4. This computer would be perfect if it were a little lighter. John would join the team if he had time, but he is really busy now. If I were a company owner, I would start a special online system to communicate directly with all employees in order to learn what they think. If I had practiced harder, I could have played the violin better. If we had known about his busy schedule, we would have put off the meeting. No one would have attended the meeting if you had told the truth about the speaker. If you had taken my advice at that time, you would be more successful now. If I hadn't met him that day, my life would be totally different now. The destruction of humankind would be inevitable if a nuclear war were to break out. I don't think he will stop by my office, but if he should come while I'm out, give him more information about that. He wishes he lived somewhere more exciting. I wish I had had enough money to buy the house around this time last year. I wish he would work more quickly. If only I had studied English much harder when I was young.
May I smoke here?
I'd rather you didn't. Although we met today for the first time, I feel as if you were my old friend. He acted as if nothing had occurred. It's time you washed those trousers. It is high time they came to the conclusion that he is guilty. If it were not for computers, our lives would be much more inconvenient. If it had not been for your help, I should have given up. But for the traffic accident, we would have arrived earlier. Without your advice, I would have failed. Were I in her position, I would decline the offer. Had I realized what you were intending to do, I would have stopped you. Were the sea to rise 2 meters, most of this island would be underwater. Should you happen to meet them, please give them my best regards. Had it not been for that great defensive play, we would have lost the game. You might have won that prize had you been a little more patient. With a little more support from the government, the African children would have survived. We went by taxi, otherwise we would have been late. Greater care would have prevented him from making such a mistake. To see us walking together, they would take you for my sister. I am disappointed with the result because we could have won the game against their team last night.
Chapter 5. My future goal is to teach English at high school. When to start the project should be discussed more seriously. It's not easy to learn a foreign language which is very different from your own language. As he approached the end of the race, he found it hard to maintain his speed. Every kid should have a pet to play with. You should go to Tokyo Dome to see a baseball game. He was very happy to hear the news. We thought he must have been crazy to try such a dangerous jump, but he accomplished it successfully. It was careless of her to leave her front door unlocked all last night. This question is more difficult to answer than that one. Mary is easy to work with. He awoke to find himself surrounded by strange people. The duckling has grown up to be a beautiful swan. His grandfather lived to be 92 and was the head of the company for many years. Caesar entered the town only to find that the enemy had already fled. She warned the children not to swim near the boats. Her mother objected that it is dangerous for Susie to stay home on her own. It would be better for her not to lose her temper so often. This guidebook makes it easier for us to decide which countries to visit. She seems to have gone back to her hometown yesterday. It is said that nobody knew the truth. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to buy the house, but we hope to. The boy turned on his father's computer, though he had been told not to. This problem is too complex for me to know where to start. This house is large enough for us to live in. They are rich enough to travel abroad every year by ship. The girl was so kind as to take me to the station. I'm going to study harder in order to pass my exams in June. I make it a rule to read the newspapers every day so as not to fall behind the times. Last night I heard my sister talk with you on the phone. I was made to read a newspaper every day. All you have to do is put the letter in an envelope and mail it. The president of the company announced today that a new store is to be built next year. The key was not to be found anywhere. This assignment is to be submitted by Wednesday at the latest. If you are to realize your dream, you must study much harder. The food was delicious, to say nothing of the wine. The guests must have enjoyed the party. Needless to say, health is more important than wealth. Strange to say, I didn't really enjoy the musical. I lost my bag, and to make matters worse, it had all my money in it. To tell the truth, I still haven't finished my homework.
Chapter 6. Missing the bus means waiting for half an hour. He is fond of playing soccer. When I had dinner with Tom, I got angry at his talking on his cell phone throughout the meal. Her expression shows that she dislikes being treated like a child. He is proud of having been a well-known actor 20 years ago. I am ashamed of not having been kind to the old woman on the train. It is no use telling her not to do it. The line is dead. There is no use trying to use the phone. There is no point in having an expensive personal computer if you never use it. I look forward to seeing you in Japan sometime soon. She is not used to writing formal letters. I'm not accustomed to speaking in public. She did not object to my working late at night. When it comes to running, John is definitely the best in class. What do you say to playing tennis on Sunday? He had difficulty answering all the questions asked by the students. People often have great trouble reading my handwriting. They are very busy doing their homework, aren't they? I usually spend 2 hours doing my homework. There is no telling when John will show up. It goes without saying that smoking is bad for one's health. She didn't mean to make him feel like crying. On hearing the news, she smiled quietly to herself. In trying to make a decision, it is important to keep a proper sense of priority.
Chapter 7. Don't make any noise near the sleeping baby. Do you know that Chris had a skiing accident?
Yes, he has a broken leg, but I think he'll be okay.
Yesterday, a friend of mine living in China came to Tokyo to attend a meeting. The language spoken in New Zealand is mainly English. As you know, Microsoft developed a computer operating system called Windows. There is light coming from behind the clouds. There was an expensive watch left in the locker room. Please remain seated for a couple of minutes. I am sorry to have kept you waiting. You should keep the door locked at all times. I was glad to see birds flying high in the blue sky. I saw the injured schoolboys carried to the hospital. Though he had tried to run away secretly, he was seen coming out of the house. I had no difficulty in making myself understood in English when I went to America last summer. I couldn't make myself heard because the room was terribly noisy. Doing exactly the same job, he understands my situation better. Not knowing how to study, the students decided to visit their advisor in his office. Having heard the joke before, I didn't find it funny the second time. It having rained the night before, the road was muddy. There being no available information on the crime, the police asked the mass media for cooperation. Seen from the airplane, the lake looks like a huge donut. All things considered, we have done a good job. Considering your love of the outdoors, I'm really surprised that you decided to live in the city rather than in the countryside. Speaking of cars, I've got an environmentally friendly one. With summer approaching, medical experts have made recommendations to prevent sunburn. The thief was taken away with his hands tied behind his back.
Chapter 8. That was the man who did it. Why is the bus late?
It crashed into a car which came speeding down the hill.
We can say that our development depends upon the people whom we meet in the course of our lives. Global warming is an important issue which we have to discuss more seriously. It's a pity that I can't take the course I wanted to because it's already full. Are you the boy whose bicycle was stolen? You should avoid using technical terms whose meanings you don't understand very well. The other girl that I told you about also lives in Bristol. Is this the book you were talking about yesterday? These are the tools with which he built his own house. Please tell me the name of the shop where you bought that camera. This is the museum which my grandfather visited 50 years ago. Summer is the season when students want to travel most. The students explained to me the reason why they were late for the lecture. This is how children learn their native language. I was irritated by the way they spoke to me. An important aspect of computer languages is the way in which they handle data items and structures. It was less than 100 meters from where we were standing to the oak tree. He has been in hospital for 2 weeks. That's why he can't come today. He lent me The Lord of the Rings, which I found very interesting. Soseki Natsume, who wrote Kokoro and Bochan, was born in 1867. The movie star, to whom Mary wrote a letter, never answered. The winter of 1999, in which I was preparing for the entrance examination, is still clear in my memory. The winter of 1999, when I was preparing for the entrance examination, is still clear in my memory. He bought a cottage in the countryside where he spent the last days of his life. Tom has 3 daughters, all of whom live in different cities in Japan. They spoke only English and French, neither of which she understood. He learned to speak fluent Japanese in only 1 year, which surprised me. She tried to swim across the river, which was impossible to do. Please come at noon, by which time I will be back in my office. What matters most to him is where he works after graduation. I'd rather not say what I really think about him. A large portion of what the Japanese eat every day is imported from other countries. I sent my brother living in the countryside what little money I had at that time. Without American influences, Japanese culture would not be what it is today. This town is very different from what it was 20 years ago. Words are to the translator what facts are to the scientist. John is what is called a man of culture. It was cold, and what was worse, the heater broke down. He is a famous scholar, and what is more, he is a talented poet. There was no objection from the man who I thought was sure to protest. I'll always do what I think is best for everybody. Such a plan as you proposed would never succeed. As is often the case with Naomi, she got up very early. There is no rule but has some exceptions. Pets should not be given more food than they need, otherwise they will gain too much weight. Mary needs a well-equipped office in which to work. You should give this CD to whoever wants it. Jane always agrees with whatever her sister tells her to do. Whatever you do, don't use your left hand to offer or take things when you're in Indonesia. She always kept smiling no matter what happened. We are in a difficult position whichever decision we make. He seems to make new friends wherever he goes. Tim accompanies his 5-year-old daughter whenever she has to go somewhere. However easy the test is, you should always check your answers again. No matter how confident you are about your health, you are advised to have a medical checkup once a year.
Chapter 9. I think he is a very intelligent person, but many people don't agree with me. I have never been to the country, nor do I want to go there in the future. We sometimes have strong differences of opinion, yet we remain close friends. Make haste, or you will miss the last train. Think success, and you are more likely to succeed. We have stated both good and bad camping sites. Taro returned home not because it was rainy, but because he was tired. People communicate not only with languages, but also with facial expressions. We will either go to the movies or go to a baseball game Friday night. Mike likes neither coffee nor tea. That it took only 3 months to finish the project is an amazing achievement. Many scientists are researching the theory that global warming is caused by human activity. It is often assumed that humans differ from other creatures in that they can think and speak. We know nothing about him except that he is a good teacher. Bob asked me if I felt well. Whether he is famous doesn't matter. The situation at work got better when the new boss arrived. I have been living in Nagoya since I came to Japan 6 years ago. You had better write the number down in the notebook before you forget it. It won't be long before his son takes over the drugstore. I took him for a student the first time I saw him. You will never enjoy watching the game until you learn the rules. The exam had started by the time I got to class. As soon as he arrived at the hotel, he called his son. I recognized something strange about the television the moment I switched it on. I had no sooner sat down to read the newspaper than the telephone rang. No sooner had the car turned the corner than a wheel came off. I had hardly gone to bed when the telephone rang. Since the sun rises in the east, Japan has long been called the land of the rising sun. He will not come to the party because he has so many assignments to do by tomorrow morning. Many exam candidates lose marks simply because they do not read the questions properly. Don't believe everything immediately just because it's written in books. Now that the country has a new democratic government, the people will at last have more freedom. Helen jogs every morning unless she is too tired. You can go ahead and use any book you like on the shelves, provided you leave all your bags in the lockers. Supposing we miss the train, what shall we do? Suppose you were president, what would you do? They'll lend us their flat on condition that we look after it. At Emmy's birthday party, he behaved as if he were a child. Matthew looks very tired. He looks as though he hasn't slept for days. Once I learned how to hold the club properly, my golf game improved a lot. I like the restaurant we went to last night, although it was a little too expensive. It is important not to give out your credit card number to anyone over the phone, even if you know who you are talking to. Even though a vast amount of research has been conducted, there is still a great deal that is not known about the workings of the human brain. Sleepy as he was, he kept on studying for the examination. Whether they agree or not, I will carry out the plan. The movie was so interesting that I wanted to see it again. It was such a fine day that they went hiking. Such was the force of the explosion that all the windows broke into pieces. I overslept, so I was late for the meeting. She wanted to publish her poetry so that everyone could read it. You need to speak up so everyone can hear you. He got to the station early for fear that he might miss the last train. You should write down Satsuki's number in case you forget it. A desert stretched on all sides as far as the eye could reach. Any bread will do as long as it's fresh. I went swimming almost every day while I stayed in Okinawa. Some people say that the Internet is a passing fashion, while others believe it is a turning point in human history. While Joe agreed with Mary for the most part, there were still some points that he could not accept. They say our bones get weaker and weaker as we get older. The students did it as they were told to do it. We have to accept things as they are.
Chapter 10. I'm tired. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. We are expecting our grandparents to arrive on November 28th. My sister was born in April 1949. We have breakfast at 7 in the morning. We went to a disco on Friday night. His house is almost at the top of the hill. He made up his mind to fish in the sea next week. A fly is on the ceiling and she is trying to hit it. He's still painting the picture but will finish it in a week or two. The construction of the building will be completed within 2 months. Please wait here for 5 minutes. I met him twice during my stay in Paris. I will continue analyzing this data till the end of this academic year. Please complete the assignment by next Monday. There was a full moon above the mountain. This cafe is popular among local residents as well as visitors. There is no connection between the two incidents. Are you for or against the proposal? It's against the law to smoke cigarettes before you are 20. He sings like a rock star. Unlike sharks, whales and dolphins are warm-blooded mammals. They designed the new novel as a children's book packed with colorful scenes. Mary is taller than Judy by 2 inches. The knife to cut the bread with was very blunt. You can contact me by email. Please refrain from talking on the phone near the priority seats in the train. It is not polite to talk with your mouth full. You should not enter the kitchen with your overcoat on. The boy fell asleep with his arms around her neck. The pianist with long hair is my girlfriend. The woman in red was curious to know about you. They discussed the matter over tea and cakes. Besides literature, we have to study Japanese and world history. I will eat anything but natto. All of the audience was impressed by his lecture on the early history of Japan. Despite his efforts, he was not able to pass the examination for a driver's license. Mike is very active for his age.
Is that project worth launching at a great expense to the taxpayer? It is worth considering the estimated cost of the project.
Most of the questions are easy, but this particular one is beyond me. My stolen bicycle was destroyed beyond recognition. I went fishing in the river. They were close to home now, but David turned in the opposite direction. I went skiing for the first time in 15 years. To my surprise, she didn't come to their wedding party. We danced to the music. The president said that it was of great importance to develop the U.S.-China constructive partnership. The dog jumped over the fence with ease. I get paid by the hour. The mother caught her baby by the arm when he fell forward. The coach encouraged me, patting me on the shoulder. Be sure to look him in the eye while talking, or he might think you are not being honest.
Chapter 11. The crowd was surprised to see that a 7-year-old boy was able to swim as fast as the teenagers. Traveling into the city center is as convenient by subway as it is by bus. This movie is not so interesting as people say it is. I haven't got as much money as I really need to complete the project. Traveling by air costs twice as much as taking the train. Carol is the daughter of a luxury hotel owner, and last month she bought a sports car which was 10 times as expensive as mine. Our old office was 1/3 as large as our new one. This air conditioner uses half as much electricity as that one. Our new computer is almost half the size of conventional ones. A car runs at approximately 1/10 the speed of a jet plane. We didn't want to go home, so we killed as much time as possible at the restaurant. Read this book as carefully as you can. She is not so much an actress as a singer. He did not so much as say a word of thanks when I helped him with his assignment. The angry person went away without so much as saying some apologetic words. He is as diligent a man as ever lived. This is as difficult a task as any I have ever faced. We were surprised to hear that as many as 200 people attended the lecture. In some parts of the world, people working 6 or 7 days a week make as little as $4. They invented printing as early as the 15th century. Jiro's car is much more economical than my car. Mike is less ill-tempered than his elder brother. He is more wise than clever. Betelgeuse, a star in the constellation of Orion, has a diameter 700 times larger than that of the Sun. John is the taller of the two boys. The longer the game went on, the more tired the players became. The more time you spend, the more your English improves. Bill came to depend on his brother all the more because his father was busy with his job. James is none the happier for his wealth. I will begin to miss Japanese food if I stay abroad for more than a month. The bus journey to Kyoto takes less than 2 hours. I had no more than 2,000 yen when I arrived at the station. The painting cost him no less than $1 million. A whale is no more a fish than a horse is. I don't believe his story any more than you do. It seems to me that she is no less intelligent than Einstein. The man was none other than the writer the journalists had been looking for. The children knew better than to swim in the lake in the winter. I can hardly speak English, much less German. When he was driving me home, he told me that he was no longer living with his wife. Our teacher has told us that DVDs are superior to videotapes for foreign language learning. I prefer staying home to going out on Sundays. Although he only joined the firm last year, he is senior to me already. Diamonds are the hardest of all substances. They can be cut only by other diamonds. Of all the films released this month, the one with lots of special effects is by far the most exciting. This is the very best theme on which I have ever written an essay. This shopping mall is the second largest one in New York. Although it is neither new nor big, the house we bought is one of the most elegant buildings in this city. The curry at that restaurant is the worst I've ever had. This is the cleverest robot I have ever seen. At least 530 of them died in this fire. No other student in this class is as smart as the boy. Nothing is so precious as time. No other mountain in Japan is higher than Mount Fuji. As for myself, nothing is more precious than my health now. The ostrich is larger than any other bird in the world. Time is more precious than anything else.
Chapter 12. Both he and I are to go to China. Not only Larry and David, but also Peter has come to the airport to see me off. Neither my friend nor her brothers are attending our wedding. Either she or I am to go. Mr. Tanaka, as well as you, was transferred to the sales promotion department. Most of the students here live with their families. 3/5 of the work was finished. Only 20% of electric cables are buried beneath the streets in Tokyo, compared with 100% in London and Paris. Since the beginning of the 20th century, there have been many political and social changes in Africa. The larger a market is, the more competition there is in that market. The number of students who wish to continue their studies after they finish their 4-year program at Meiji University is increasing. A number of people were invited to the party. The United Nations was established after World War II. 50 minutes isn't enough time to finish this test. Make sure that the poor are properly cared for. The number of people who were injured was greater than they had expected. The decrease in job opportunities in recent years has been a serious blow to those young people who wish to work upon graduating from high school.
Chapter 13. How did you spend your summer vacation? How much do these trousers cost? How often do you go abroad each year?
2 or 3 times.
How far is it from Osaka to Kyoto? How long does it take to go from this hotel to the lake? How soon does the talk show begin? I wonder how far it is between Osaka and Kanazawa. Elizabeth would often think about how different her life would have been if she had been born 100 years ago. Do you know when Tom will leave New York for Paris? What do you think sake is made from? Didn't you go there to see her yesterday?
Yes, I did. I met her there and we went to the party together.
You're not the new student, are you? What he said is difficult to understand, isn't it? Let's go on a picnic, shall we? There is a big dog in your garden, isn't there? It is of no importance where you come from. This book shows us what education was like in the 19th century. When I decided to go to France, I had no idea what it would be like to live abroad. What do you think about the article that we discussed in class? I wonder what has become of the scarf my mother bought for me. How come you did not join the party yesterday? What did you come here today for? I don't know what this word means.
Why don't you consult a dictionary?
Why don't we go to see a movie? It's time for another meeting. What about talking about this matter again tomorrow? Who knows the trouble we have experienced? Nobody knows the trouble we have experienced. What is the use of doing such a thing?
Chapter 14. They do not allow any pets in the store. No pets are allowed in the store. Not everyone wants to go to the beach in summer. You can get this sofa in 2 different colors, tomato red or lemon yellow.
Well, I don't really like either of the colors. They're too bright.
Are your parents traveling with you?
No, not both. Mother only.
Watching TV is not necessarily wrong, but it is important for children to form the habit of thinking for themselves. They were not in the least anxious about it. My brother speaks so fast that sometimes I can't understand him at all. The data given by Dr. Watson was by no means reliable. Jim has no ambition whatever. He is quite content to stick to the job he has. My sister doesn't like chocolate, and I don't either. I saw Penny at the lecture this afternoon.
Yeah, I was very surprised to see her. She was the last person I expected to see there.
The new film proved to be anything but a failure. It was an instant success the world over. His writing is far from correct. All right, I believe you're innocent, but they don't trust you. We have yet to find a witness who can prove your story is true. It is yet to be seen whether our project will succeed or not. It remains to be seen if he will succeed. The heat of the room was more than I could bear. I never read this book without finding a new meaning in it. It never rains, but it pours.
Chapter 15. Never did I dream of making a fortune by investing in the stock market. Little did we think that he would lose the game. At no time have I been more nervous than I am now. Not only do the workers want a pay increase, but they also want reduced hours. Only recently have I realized the importance of my parents' lessons. The opera was performed in Italian, and I did not understand a word of it, nor did I know the story. I haven't been here before.
Is that so? Neither have I.
I didn't make any mistakes in the math quiz.
Nor did I.
As fuel prices rose, bus companies raised their fares, and so did the airlines. Last Sunday was so beautiful a day that we took a drive in the country. Chopin was as good a pianist as a composer. It was much too difficult a problem, so nobody was able to solve it. I think he is such a patient teacher. My child leaves her toys all over the room, and I have to pick them up. The lady is very quiet and doesn't speak unless spoken to. There are few mistakes, if any, in this long essay. Mr. and Mrs. Thatcher seldom, if ever, go out in the evening. It should be possible, if not easy, to complete the project by next week. It is this question that I want you to solve. It was because he was ill that we gave up traveling. It was not until 2 hours after the accident that the police arrived. Who was it that you went into the room with? It is adults who create the world where their children will grow up. I do regret not learning to play the piano when I was a child. What on earth are you doing? This is the very book that I wanted to buy.
Chapter 16. He said to her, "You may be able to answer this question." He told her that she might be able to answer that question. My mother said to me, "Don't talk to wolves in the woods." My mother told me not to talk to wolves in the woods. He said to us, "Please don't wait for me if I am late." He asked us not to wait for him if he was late. He said to us, "Let's go for a drive." He suggested that we should go for a drive. He proposed that we should go for a drive. He said to me, "Are you busy?" He asked me if I was busy. He asked me whether I was busy. He said to me, "Where does she live?" He asked me where she lived.
Chapter 17. It might be wise of you to avoid studying abroad next year. If you are the kind of person who suffers from stress, you should consider taking more time to relax. My brother denied having broken my model plane, even though he was the only person who was in my room at that time. My friend had a nice time in England and enjoyed experiencing a different culture. Have you finished writing your essay? After several frustrating weeks, Masao finally gave up trying to teach his wife how to drive. Would you mind closing the window for me? I feel a little cold. The doctor has advised me not to eat eggs anymore, so I've stopped buying them. How much can you afford to spend on your vacation? My grandfather was hospitalized, so I decided to visit him as often as possible. I expect to enter a famous university in the USA in the spring. Ken has never failed to give a birthday present to his mother. I hope to go to Hawaii next month. I could tell David was only pretending to read because his book was upside down. The number of young people who are refusing to make their pension and national health insurance payments is on the rise. She remembered the teacher talking about it. Remember to take your books back to the library by the end of the week. I'll never forget seeing the beautiful sea from the hill on my last trip. I forgot to stop by the supermarket and so have nothing to eat now. I regret lending him my dictionary. I cannot do my work without it. I regret to say that I cannot join your team. He tried to impress the girl with his courage. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your foot. After playing with sand, your hands need washing. My watch loses 10 minutes a day, so it needs to be repaired. If you intend to climb such a high mountain, these shoes want repairing. I told her to shut up, but she went on talking and talking. After he had given an explanation of the difficulties, he went on to suggest ways of overcoming them.
Mary's father will not let her do any part-time work until after her exams are over. Mr. Jones made the students repeat the same phrase without looking at their textbooks. What do you think made an honest person like Jane break her promise? Because my mother was sick in bed, she had me wash the dishes after dinner. We are going to have the house painted this weekend. The bus was so crowded that I had my foot stepped on while I was on it. I don't know how I can get my children to do their homework. Could you give me a ride to the station tomorrow morning? I must get my car repaired at the garage. A lazy student stood in front of his stern teacher and said, "I'm sorry, I could not get the homework done by the deadline." I was sitting in my car and I saw a strange man enter the building and then a little later run out again. When I fell, I felt something go wrong with my foot. The doctor advised me to go home and to go to bed. He allowed me to take a day off. I asked the waitress to bring me a cup of tea, but she brought me coffee. What on earth caused you to change your mind so suddenly? Illness compelled him to resign. The typhoon forced us to put off our trip. This new microscope enables us to observe incredibly small objects in great detail. Our teacher encouraged us to consult a dictionary whenever we are uncertain of the spelling of a word. The bus was late again. I had expected it to arrive at 6 o'clock. We all tried to persuade her to dance. In many countries, drivers are required to wear seatbelts at all times. Her parents don't want her to get married. I suggested that she be more careful. The teacher ordered that every student make a study plan for the summer vacation. My mother insisted that she should have a look at my room. I recommended that he come on time to the interview. After the car hit the boy, he remained unconscious for 2 days. This medicine will make you feel better in a few days. I cannot explain exactly what has gone wrong. Her dreams have come true. The baby resembles her mother. With a huge smile, Catherine waved her hand happily as she approached me. We discussed the matter far into the night. Although Mary and I are from different ethnic backgrounds, I have decided to marry her. How long have you been married to Kate?
She hopes to work for a travel agency after she graduates from college. When I realized I was wrong, I apologized to him for my mistake. Have you ever heard her complain about her job? The new software program will save us a lot of time and labor. It cost me a lot of money to have my car repaired at the shop because it was heavily damaged in the accident. It took me 5 hours to finish this homework, so I could not go to the video shop to return my overdue DVDs. Any delay in delivering the goods will cause us a lot of trouble. It is to her advice that I owe my success. A change of air will do her good. Drinking and smoking will do you great harm. Could you do me a favor and take out the garbage? The latest computers with new software are selling well now. Someday you will realize that honesty pays. Any dictionary will do as long as it is an English dictionary. There was a notice board. It read, "Keep off the grass." I can't stand this noise any longer. If you have a bad headache, go and see the doctor. This hill commands a fine view of the Kanto Plains. Why did Jack quit his job?
He wanted to realize his dream of opening his own cafe.
Why have you decided to live in the country?
Because of the air pollution, I really miss clean, fresh air.
Mary raises many different kinds of flowers in her garden. The temperature will rise to 38 degrees Celsius, and it will be very uncomfortable this afternoon. This time tomorrow, she will be lying on the beach. He laid himself on the sofa and quickly fell asleep. Jennifer talked about her own work experience in India. You're always free to say no. I cannot tell you how lucky I was to have a chance to see that painting. I heard somebody tell Lydia about the news, and I noticed that it upset her. The nurse told us not to enter the room because the patient was in critical condition. The newspaper said it was going to rain. Alex has talked his parents into allowing him to travel alone for 6 months around the Northern Hemisphere. She talked her husband out of smoking. I try to speak politely to my teachers. This picture reminds me of the days when I lived in California. She cannot read this poem without being reminded of her mother. We informed him of our willingness to help him with the work. It never occurred to me to suspect him of stealing money from his friend.
If you violate a traffic law, the police may deprive you of your driver's license. They robbed him of his money on his way home from the office. Due to a bomb threat, they cleared the stadium of spectators. The traffic accident prevented them from getting there on time. Urgent business stopped Tom from attending the big party for his parents' 50th wedding anniversary. Lack of time kept me from writing to you. Tom is prohibited by his father from playing cards. My parents are trying to discourage me from moving to London, but I'm planning to go anyway. On your arrival at the front desk, you will be provided with your room key and meal tickets. The small shop in the village supplied children with what they needed. My computer is equipped with extras like a DVD player. The actor blamed himself for his poor acting in the movie. The train driver has been accused of causing death and bodily injury through professional negligence. I can never thank you enough for what you've done for me. Please excuse me for being late. I was caught in heavy traffic. I couldn't forgive him for what he had done. The man regarded the situation as serious. We are not related, but I look upon him as a brother. I don't know why, but it struck me as strange that none of the passengers uttered a word. This train will take you to the airport. About 10 minutes' walk brought me to the post office. How do I like you in that uniform? You look great. It really suits you. Which dressing goes with this kind of salad? I borrowed money from my friend last week. My friend lent me some money, which I paid back later on. I doubt he has passed the examination. I suspect Bill stole the money. Many consider Bill to be a man of few words. Everyone hopes that she manages to finish on time. We are hoping for your quick recovery. Everyone is hoping for him to come up with some new ideas concerning the project. Would you help me with my homework? The president announced that the government would help find jobs for those who wanted to work. The clerk helped the customer carry out his groceries to the car. Paul suggested having a party for Vicky when she came back home. My teacher suggested to her that she go to see a doctor alone. Will you remind me that we have an appointment tomorrow afternoon? The teacher reminded us to hand in the homework on time. They all appreciated their host mother's help and support. We're facing troubles now. I would appreciate it if you could assist us. I'd rather draw a map than tell someone how to get there. Do you mind if I open the window? It doesn't matter whether others may approve of your work or not. My daughter explained to me how to use the new DVD recorder. After a cup of coffee, I came to realize what his message really meant.
Chapter 18. I wonder if anyone can give me good advice about how to improve my English. We've just bought some new garden furniture, such as tables, chairs, etc. We got some information about the flight from the travel agency. I have done all my homework, and I'd like to take a short break. How many pieces of baggage can we take on the airplane with us? The car crashed into a tree and suffered some damage. He made an effort to become a professional golfer, but he made little progress. That street always has a lot of traffic. The evidence clearly shows that there is still room for doubt about it. The square was destroyed to make room for university buildings. Why don't you make friends with that girl? She is very nice. Mr. Tanaka changed trains at Nagoya for Toyohashi. It's a long trip, so we should take turns driving, don't you think? The singer took great pains to improve her image. Don't forget to give my best regards to your parents when you go back home. Please give my best wishes to your parents.
Thanks, I will.
Mary quarreled with her father a week ago. She is now barely on speaking terms with him. Credit cards can be useful, but they encourage some people to live beyond their means. The mother made an appointment for her son to see the doctor at 3 o'clock. Hello, I would like to make a reservation for a table for 4 tonight. My son is in the habit of washing his hands many times a day. My brother's daughter Connie is my favorite niece. It was announced yesterday that train companies would raise their fares by more than 10%. As the cost of living is higher in Tokyo than in Nagoya, I decided to live in Nagoya. She drove too fast, so the police made her pay a fine of $150. The supermarket is crowded with customers every Sunday. It was a miracle that all the passengers survived the plane crash. When she finally succeeded after hours of work, she felt that her labor had been worthwhile. Mary told me about her occupation. In many of the developing countries of Asia and Africa, where the urbanization process has only recently begun, about 1/3 of the population lives in urban areas. Being terribly wounded, approximately 2/3 of the soldiers were lying on the ground after the fighting ended in the area. It is hard to believe that a year and a half have passed since the last time our whole family got together. It is hard to believe that 1.5 years have passed since the last time our whole family got together. It takes half an hour to walk to the station.
Chapter 19. My mobile phone is broken. I must buy one today. She gave me a lovely watch, but I lost it. Which do you like?
I like the big one.
The photo enclosed is the one taken while I was on a trip to Singapore with my family last month. Can you tell the difference between rice grown in Japan and American rice? I have a great number of English books and keep the expensive ones in a box. I found these keys. Are they the ones that you lost yesterday? It bothered me that the baby didn't stop crying. Do you think we should write a letter of thanks to her?
Yes, I consider it necessary that we should write to her.
I think it interesting that John can speak Japanese. The climate of Hawaii is milder than that of Alaska. The cars we drive now are very different from those we used to drive 40 years ago. Trademarks make it possible for a company to distinguish its products from those of another company. Those present at the meeting supported the plan. The teacher said the books listed on the handout were essential for those who study accounting at college. Akiko's essay got higher marks than mine. Please take these letters of his with you and tell me what you think of them tomorrow. Some of the jobs Susan performs include ordering office supplies, filing, and cleaning the office. I saw several boys in the backyard. Some of the boys were fighting. Any boy who breaks a window while playing baseball should apologize to his teacher. My sister and I are afraid of heights, so both of us hate to fly in airplanes. Yoko and I didn't know the time because neither of us had a watch. Kenji has 2 brothers, but he is not on speaking terms with them. In other words, he doesn't talk to either of them. There are tall buildings on either side of the street. Fortunately, none of the 3 school children were hurt yesterday. I wanted to drink beer, but there was none in the refrigerator. Each of the 3 boys got a prize. The 2 brothers had no parents, so both of them helped each other. Every student in the class passed the examination. The parade is held once every 2 years. I have my son do the dishes every other day. The teacher was disappointed when most of her students did badly on the test. Most students attended the science class every week. Almost all the students in the classroom looked older than me. Almost all computer languages use letters and numbers. The 2 dogs are so alike that no one can tell one from the other. I don't like this bag. Would you please show me another? I have 5 boxes here. One is full of books and the others are all empty. There are many kinds of flowers in this garden. Some are red and others are yellow. To say is one thing and to do is quite another. The physician will examine all of you one after another. We had to wait another 2 hours for the train to come. Sexual harassment is a serious issue and should be treated as such. Wealth as such does not matter much. She told her story in such a way that we all laughed. Do you think the teacher will really fail us?
From the low scores on our final test, I'm afraid so.
Is Betty coming to my birthday party tonight?
I suppose not. She is busy with her homework.
I have nothing to do with the matter. Our team's victory had much to do with our coach's aggressive strategies. There is something noble about her. There seems to be something the matter with this wall clock. It doesn't work at all. She is something of a musician and composes her own music. If worrying were harmless, it would not be much of a problem. We enjoyed ourselves at the party last week. Why don't you help yourself to some ice cream? You look tired. Do come in and make yourself at home. Who did you go to the movie with?
No one. I went by myself.
He was beside himself with worry about his sick mother. Most of the work that most people have to do is not in itself interesting. Vintage, CDB.
Chapter 20. Driving downtown to the stadium for the baseball game was easy. We got there quickly because there was little traffic. I can't decide now. I need a little time to think about it. My daughter has a few close friends at school. There were few people at the meeting, so the room was nearly empty. It is not good for your health to put too much sugar in your coffee. Have you had many experiences abroad? There were quite a few students absent from class. We'll get some information from the tourist office. Come here and sit down by me. There is enough room for you. A great deal of money has been spent on this building. A great number of members opposed my proposal at the meeting. I don't mind being transferred as long as the job is interesting. When he was asked why he was studying so hard, he replied that he was interested in English culture. It was exciting that so many people came to see our performance. When some excited children got onto the train, it became very noisy. My job at the company was very boring. Students were bored because the teacher just forced them to learn grammar and vocabulary. They were disappointed with the results. It is extremely disappointing to find that so many shops or shopkeepers are still prepared to sell knives to people under 16, said a researcher. Many students seem more confused now about how to write a research paper. George looked satisfied when I apologized to him for my rudeness. Despite their efforts to capture the bear alive, they finally had to shoot it. I was so tired that it was really hard to stay awake in class. We do not have any more information at the present time. There were 200 people present at the meeting. I would like to see you tomorrow. What time is convenient for you? It seemed impossible for us to finish the task by the next day. John is not able to come to the class. She is capable of great patience when she deals with children. The price of fresh vegetables is getting too high to afford them. The soccer game was shown on a big screen in front of a large audience. David and James are alike in many ways. John's family always enjoyed having lively discussions over dinner. There seems to be no living thing on this deserted island. I've come to think that buying in bulk is more economical than shopping for small quantities. The 20th century saw the rapid industrial and agricultural development of the U.S. We would be glad to send further information if you agree to the terms of the contract. We are now in the latter half of our training camp. Have you seen his latest movie? Every morning he spends considerable time reading all the pages of 3 newspapers. Because of favorable weather conditions, Shizuoka Prefecture has an advantage in the production of fruits and vegetables. Our charity project was successful because John gave us generous support. King Arthur of England was an imaginary person. I sometimes feel I have become less imaginative as I grow older. We always try to be respectful of each other's opinions, no matter how much we disagree. You should be more sensitive to her feelings. The Egyptian vessel is an invaluable work of art, so it is displayed behind a thick pane of glass in the museum. I like my job, but I'd like to do something more creative. I am frightfully busy because I have just gotten back from a 2-week vacation. The prize winner was a 6-year-old boy. The suspect is a 6-foot-tall male wearing a black sweater with a white logo.
Chapter 21. It was not clear in the instructions whether the light should be left on or turned off before leaving the room. A couple of salespersons left messages while you were out. After classes are over, Hiroshi usually hurries to the gym to play basketball. Susan has already arrived in London and will meet with her client on Friday afternoon. Robert lost his watch yesterday and hasn't found it yet. I was offered that job at the international company, but I still can't believe it. The accident happened 3 hours ago. In 1945, when he was born in the USA, the war had ended only a few months before. I have never been to Liberty Tower before. How can we get rid of this noise pollution? We can hardly put up with it anymore. She seldom calls her mother because they always get into arguments about her marriage. Scarcely anyone in the office knew what they were supposed to do when the alarm went off. These days I'm so busy that I hardly ever have a chance to play golf. I was almost involved in a car accident. I narrowly escaped being run over. My friends and I stayed behind after school to study until it was time for us to go home. I have never traveled abroad, so I want to someday. The musicians in the orchestra were very tired after playing hard all afternoon. The bus arrived late on account of rain, so we missed the train we were supposed to take. While I was driving home, I nearly hit a deer that suddenly appeared on the road. Polluted air drifts all over. It even rises high above the earth. Fortunately, his injuries were only slight. You don't like this dress? Why don't you try something else? Mr. Suzuki recently took exception to something his colleague said. The price of this suit is much too high for our budget. It was 20 years ago when she saw him first. At first I thought he was shy, but then I discovered he was just not interested in other people. We must go now, otherwise we won't be in time for the concert. The bedroom is a bit too small, but otherwise the house is satisfactory. Jane is rather dishonest, therefore we should be careful about what she says. At first glance, the idea appears to be attractive. However, there are some problems to be solved. It has snowed heavily for a week. Consequently, all the transportation in the city has stopped. Kathy was completely exhausted after the long business trip. Nevertheless, she went to work early in the morning. Her new skirt was too expensive. Besides, it looked terrible. I like spring, especially at dawn. Because I didn't have enough time to go to Hawaii for my vacation, I went to Shikoku instead.
Chapter 22. I cannot put on a kimono by myself, so my mother always helps me. That hat is just the color I've been looking for. May I try it on, please? Please take off your shoes after you step into the entrance. He had to turn down his employee's request. Hey, I love this song. Could you turn up the volume, please? Please be sure to turn off the gas before you leave the apartment. The game has been put off due to the bad weather. The trip to Disneyland has been called off because of the weather. Within a few days, I managed to pick up a little French. Would you pick me up at the station at 6? Kathy picked out a good book to give to her brother as a graduation gift. Please put away your things when you've finished using them. Every month, I try to put away some money. John is a hard worker and he makes it a rule to put aside 20% of his income every month. I'm planning to set up a joint venture with them. Charlie made up a very good excuse about why he was late for class. The book contained many hard words and Anne could not make out what the writer meant. Can you figure out this word? I'm going to work out this math problem all by myself. Margaret was asked to take on the additional work at the office. We will have to take on someone to do his work while he is away. It took a whole day to put out the fire. It is hard to keep up that kind of lifestyle. He called up his former boss. I will gladly back up your suggestion. John has cut down his smoking from 30 to 10 cigarettes a day. Unknown words should be looked up in a dictionary. I want to look over the letter before it goes out. This is a big decision, so please take time to think it over. In order to apply for the dormitory, you need to fill in your name, address, and telephone number on this form.
Please fill out this application form. You are supposed to hand in the report by the end of this week. You should turn in your assignment no later than Monday. He took back what he had said previously. It was with great difficulty that I held back my anger. The manager suddenly resigned, and I took over her position last week. She was brought up by her grandmother in Hokkaido. Heavy rains brought about heavy flooding. I felt a little uncomfortable because everybody in the English class tried to show off their English skills. Most of the tasks were carried out carefully. Last month, the company had to lay off several hundred factory workers. Why did Bill leave out the first two questions on his examination? We left in a hurry and I must have left my keys behind. He will never let you down. Police have not ruled out the possibility that the man was murdered. People are often taken in by the fact that advertisements appear in reputable magazines and papers. He listened to the lecture but could take in none of it. I hear your daughter has gone to the U.S. to study English.
That's right. We saw her off at the airport last Sunday.
The team consists of 2 professionals and 5 amateurs. The main duty of the midwife consists in assisting in the birthing process. The shop deals in women's clothing. The international community is ready to deal with serious issues. Another issue to think about is how banks cope with computer hackers. Tooth decay often results from eating sweets. Lack of preparation and effort results in a poor performance. I'm very glad to hear of your great success. Have you heard from him lately? I wonder why you won't agree to my plan. I'd better not eat fried oysters. Oily food does not agree with me. It depends on the circumstances whether they go on a strike. Craft shops in many small villages rely on tour buses to bring them customers. He's a reliable boss, so you can always count on him. We live on the very small income of our father. She got to her office half an hour late because of the traffic jam. He will be arriving at the station on schedule. Mr. Kimura specialized in commerce when he was in university. My cousin Bob majored in French in college. We had to do without petrol during the fuel crisis.
Yoko has to dispense with her father's support. The sales manager stuck to the original plan even though the market situation had changed. I happened to run across an old friend in town last week. Mary was walking down the street when she suddenly ran into Joan. Where did you come across such a rare old photo? It never occurred to her that graduate school would be so difficult. Julie hit on the idea while they were discussing the problem. The university does not approve of smoking on campus at all. You were foolish enough to part with all your money on one night. There is too much noise for me to concentrate on my homework. Susan's savings will soon amount to 1 million yen. The student referred to the accident he had witnessed. Mr. Brown stared angrily at the class. "Who has taken my homework folder?" he shouted. My sister insisted on my solving the problem by myself. If you persist in arriving late, I'm afraid I'll have to report it to the director. If a holiday falls on a Sunday, we usually get the next Monday off. The famous actor died of cancer. Simon succeeded in starting the car. The number of people suffering from heart disease has increased. Please refrain from smoking. She had better set about her work immediately. An old woman was run over by a truck. It is necessary for him to get over his depression. Would you like to go over your speech with me before you go to the conference? I called on you last night, but you were not in. Please keep off the grass when you play catch there. The company went through a difficult time. I'll have to hang up the phone now. I'm out of time. I'll carry on my business there. He takes after his older brother.
My sister would often stand by me when I was in trouble. The white bird in this picture stands for peace. My friend said that he would look after my dog for me while I'm away on vacation next week. The police are looking into the cause of the murder. I can't find my keys. Could you help me look for them? The house was broken into while the owner was on holiday. She waited on shoppers all day at the department store. How did you come by such a precious painting? My uncle is going to run for governor in the election next fall. In conclusion, I want to thank all who have contributed to our success. You can pay for your purchases at any of the cashiers. When are you going to apply for the job? It is not always easy for some new students to adapt to the busy life at university. Our student's accident added to the teacher's troubles. The doctor was sent for immediately after the car accident, and the victim survived. Don't ask for money. The economy has high inflation, so the workers called for a salary increase. You must believe in your own abilities. If anything goes wrong, I'll answer for the consequences. A lack of sleep is telling on my health. The chef used to see a lot of dishes at dinner. I was introduced to the new boss yesterday. I can't say I took to him. It started raining, so Kiyomi made for the nearest shelter. I don't care about the expense, I just want the party to be a real success. It has become more difficult for families to care for their elderly at home. He is an old man, and he doesn't care for long trips. We couldn't account for the fact that she left without saying goodbye. Asian countries such as Japan, China, and South Korea accounted for about 45% of the international students at the university in 2006. The plane will be ready to take off in a few minutes. Because of the heavy rain, we had to put up at a hotel last night. Computers may be very useful, but the problem is that mine breaks down as often as my car does. Before the meeting breaks up, I'd like to say something to you all. Unfortunately, the murderer turned out to be my neighbor. I stayed up until midnight to watch the TV show last night. Watch out! There's a motorbike about to pass us.
Yes, I saw it coming, but thanks for warning me.
He was shocked to hear that his friend had passed away. Try to keep up with the others in the group. Don't fall behind. His shoes wear out quickly when he takes a walk every day. Do wolves still live in the wild in Japan?
No, they died out about 100 years ago.
Jim and Mary set off to visit their relatives in Virginia while their daughter stayed home to study because they were behind in their schoolwork.
Why don't you go on a picnic before the rainy season sets in? Why don't you drop in and see me sometime? The bomb went off. Mary fainted but came to after a while. The big car pulled up at the traffic light. His light brown hair makes him stand out from others in the group. Bill's new book will come out at the end of this month. It really gets on my nerves that Robert shows up late for every class. I'm sure your ring will turn up soon. Many diseases broke out after the war. How did this accident come about? Please don't break in on our conversation. In order for your business to succeed, you need to come up with a new strategy. China will soon catch up with Japan in the field of computer engineering. Mr. Roberts gave an interesting lecture today, but most of the students were not able to keep up with his rapid pace. We had to put up with intense heat this summer. Sometimes technology falls short of its promises. He is running short of money. The truck stopped in the middle of the road. It seemed to have run out of fuel. Although Bill was only 20, people looked up to him as a great leader. Living in a rich country, we should not look down on homeless people. I feel quite uncomfortable in his presence. He is very hard to get along with. She gets on with the colleagues in her office. Would you help me with my homework when you get through with yours? My only daughter always studied hard and was able to live up to my expectations. Sandy speaks ill of her colleagues very often. All of us must look out for pickpockets as we walk the streets. Tom stood up for his friend in the argument. Nothing can make up for the loss of nature. The government finally did away with the law. We need to brush up on our math skills before the next test. They should get rid of their differences and become friends. My mother finally has given in to my view. Susan had to make do with her old dress because she couldn't afford to buy a new one. Customs that older Britons have always taken very seriously are being made light of by many young people in the UK today. I didn't make much of her opinion. She felt like slapping him in the face, but thought better of it.
I am looking for someone to share the room with. What is frequently said among many linguists is that language is one of the characteristics which distinguishes humans from the other animals. The two girls were so much alike that I couldn't tell one from the other. He ordered some books from America. Today, people spend much less time on their children than before. I congratulated her on winning the tournament. The students contributed most of their free time to the cleanup campaign sponsored by the local community. He decided to devote the rest of his life to helping young people in developing countries. The executives attributed the slowdown to the government's economic policy. I am going to leave Tokyo for Osaka. Can I exchange dollars for yen here? Even though Nancy is over 20, she is often taken for a high school student. The teacher mistook me for my twin brother. I asked the waiter for tea, but he brought milk. Grandma had 4 daughters and no sons. She named each of her 4 daughters after a flower. While he was studying at university, he depended on his parents for financial support. In my anguish, I turned to my father for help. I have to take part in a meeting. Tourism plays an important part in the economy of Switzerland. I tried to do my part in protecting the environment by reducing my garbage. I caught sight of the cat running under the fence in the backyard. We caught sight of a ship in the distance, but soon lost sight of it. You should take your time in everything that you do. How did you kill time while you were waiting for me?
Well, I looked at some books in the college bookshop.
No solution was reached in the discussion, as neither side would give way to the other. They drove slowly to make way for each other. Her husband wants to have his own way in everything. The next Olympics will take place in Tokyo. Today, email has almost taken the place of writing letters. Smoking has a bad effect on our health. The pill I took is starting to take effect. My stomach feels a little better already. When talking with people from foreign countries, we should always take into account their cultural background. You should take what he said into consideration. She lost face because she couldn't answer the question. The quarreling boys stood making faces at each other. You must always keep an eye on these children. They aren't good swimmers. On hearing the news, she burst into tears.
The teacher told Jack to hold his tongue. The canyon is so large that seeing it takes my breath away. Tomorrow is not a holiday. Don't believe George. He's just pulling your leg. When the president entered, all those present rose to their feet. I wish that noise would stop. It gets on my nerves. She always stays calm. I've never seen her lose her temper. I can't learn so many words by heart at one time. He has to make up his mind which university is better for him. You should keep in mind what I said yesterday. Michael keeps his word, so we can trust him. We had words again last night, so today we're not speaking. The airplane caught fire soon after it was struck by lightning. My mother has put on weight again. She needs some exercise. Paul makes it a rule to keep good hours. He was slow in putting his idea into practice. I've come to ask a big favor of you. He always finds fault with something in my personality. He got in touch with me as soon as he arrived in Nagoya. Your behavior will give rise to misunderstanding. My sister gave birth to a baby boy the day before yesterday. What he says does not make any sense to me. It will make no difference whether he joins us or not. I'm going to make a living by growing and selling vegetables. I'm afraid we won't be able to make it on time because of the traffic. You should make use of this opportunity. Companies should take advantage of this wonderful opportunity to get new customers. Guests are free to avail themselves of our hotel facilities. Kunio was made fun of by his friends at school. If you really stand up and start singing on your own during the solemn ceremony, you will make a fool of yourself. The only way to make ends meet will be to cut back on the cost of equipment.
I make it a rule to get up early in the morning. As a high school student, Hanako made a point of watching this late-night TV program. We're looking for someone to take care of our pets. Helen asked him to take charge of the office while she was away. Nobody took any notice of my protests. We take great pride in our unique Japanese cultural traditions. Take a close look at the dish on the table. It is made of rubber. Don't take the trouble to come and meet me. Tony Blair has done more than any other Western leader to force people to pay attention to climate change and poverty in Africa. His daughter came of age last year. The first Japanese law against workplace sex discrimination came into existence in the 1980s. The sudden change in weather put an end to our picnic. I finally came to terms with my terminal cancer. Congratulations! Your performance left nothing to be desired. This Russian composition leaves much to be desired. This is my first trip abroad, so I'm going to make the most of it. My cousin's death from cancer brought home to me the danger of being a heavy smoker. This contract still holds good. The twins are so similar that most people cannot tell them apart. She points out that money alone never makes great schools. I saw to it that things were done as she wished. I took it for granted that he had received the letter. He persuaded her to make sure that they kept in touch even after he moved to Osaka. Let's make believe that we know nothing about the matter. I had no choice but to tell the truth.
Chapter 23. Kazumi is entirely dependent upon her parents. I'm a student, but working part-time to be independent of my family. I am quite familiar with the place you visited last week. The song is now very familiar to us. Most students were very concerned about the results of their final examinations. She established an organization concerned with child adoption. We are faced with the most serious problem in our company's history. Drinking water must be free from anything capable of causing disease. Jack is sure of overcoming the difficulties he meets. Be sure to call me when you arrive at the airport. The boy was very conscious of his girlfriend's attitude toward him that night. This evidence indicates that the governor is involved in the scandal. I am crazy about Italian food. Most of the students are quite keen on studying English. He was absorbed in a book and didn't seem to hear me. I am not very good at learning new things. He seems to be ignorant of the matter. We were short of food. All prices are subject to change. The translation is quite true to the original. The new teacher is really popular with his pupils. Watson was very ill and not equal to the long journey. The work of a nurse is similar to the work of a doctor. The student was absent from school yesterday. To my surprise, the room was full of flowers. This train is bound for Central Station. Sorry, I'm a little late for my appointment. It took time to find a parking space. That author is well known for his comments on education. We are responsible for our own choices. When I was a child, I was afraid of dogs. I'm very worried about taking final exams next week.
People were fed up with the noise coming from the nearby nightclubs. You should be ashamed of yourself for doing such a silly thing. Peter has always been jealous of Tom's natural athletic ability. She is particular about keeping her room clean. Many young people these days seem to be indifferent to what is happening in the world. Bill's schoolmates were proud of him because he told the truth. This book is composed of essays written over the last 20 years. People who are constantly exposed to dust may suffer from breathing difficulties. Wendy's father is opposed to her going to Egypt by herself. As I was just getting acquainted with classical music, I had much to ask the musician. Based on various legal systems and cultural values, the document is an agreed set of standards. I am anxious to know the results of the examination in chemistry. The girls were eager to show off their new dresses when they went to their friend's birthday party. Mary was reluctant to go to the party at first, but she found that it was fun. There is likely to be a technological development in the near future. Television and video games are apt to deprive children of reading time. Parents are bound to look after their children. When you enter a Japanese house, you are supposed to take off your shoes. He owns his house. It seems he is quite well off. He is worse off now than he used to be. You hung that picture upside down. The bottom part should be on top. The girl is wearing her sweater inside out. He said you should do it right away. I love to visit the park now and then. I don't go to the movies often, just off and on. In Seattle, it rains more often than not. My daughter told her boyfriend once and for all that she wouldn't date him anymore. Our horse riding club has won all the competitions so far. As yet, little is known of the causes of the disease. The war is as good as over. Our teacher, as well as many of our classmates, will get to the party on time. Sometimes my job is boring, but by and large I enjoy it. It is next to impossible for him to see her off at the airport. She speaks English more or less. Sooner or later he'll see what is right and wrong. We haven't got the money to phone home, let alone stay in a hotel. What with club activities and studying, I couldn't travel during the summer vacation.
Chapter 24. Oh no, that building is on fire. She often worked for 24 hours on end. Everybody was surprised when they found out that he did it on purpose. I went to the wrong place by mistake. Yesterday I met her by chance at the station. Christopher Columbus was an Italian by birth. He is timid by nature. Tomoko and Susan have been friends for ages. They first met each other back in nursery school. David's wife dislikes his smoking habits so much that she wants him to quit for good. I promise that I will return the book to you next week without fail. All the doctor's efforts were in vain, and the patient finally died. I have to go through this report in detail by tomorrow morning. Kate will prepare it in advance. Don't be in haste to come to a conclusion. You should be more careful as you've got plenty of time. John and Bill are twins, but they don't seem to have much in common. Some students study in earnest, and some don't care. I don't think I'll need any money, but I'll bring some just in case. No American person, in public or in private, would admit to not having a sense of humor. You must talk to her in person about that issue. My grandmother is getting better by degrees. We must take care of the baby by turns. The delivery will arrive before long. Many dreams come true in time. You only have 5 minutes to get to the bank. If you take more than that, it will be too late. You won't be in time. We arrived there on time. Changes in language will continue forever, but no one knows for sure who does the changing. You needn't worry at all. Everything is under control. Another hotel is under construction near the theme park. Our project is already underway. I got a ticket for the baseball game for nothing. The president said the soldiers had not died for nothing. We don't call him a great debater for nothing. It is a good idea to have an English dictionary at hand when you study English. I could not go to the party because I was on duty. Please make yourself at home in this room until I come back. He is at home in environmental problems. The police spokesman announced that the escaped murderer was still at large. Apparently, they don't have a clue where he is. After he talked with the professor, he felt at ease about next week's exam. This kind of view is, in fact, quite a familiar one in this technology. This story, in short, is about the life of a man. So you got here after all. During the next 5 years, our company plans to expand business in Asia, in particular in China. Children need a lot of things, but above all, they need love.
I moved out of my parents' house because I wanted to live on my own for a while. He was at a loss what to do. You shouldn't worry because you have the best medical advice in the country at your disposal. Mark had never acted on the stage and he was ill at ease. The design of this garden is exactly to my taste. I can express myself in English to some extent, but I still have a lot to study. They tried to maintain peace at any cost. The plan must be carried out by all means.
Excuse me, are you Mr. Chang by any chance? Yes, I am. Oh, you must be Mr. Suzuki. It's so nice to meet you.
If you wish to do it, I won't stand in your way. Keep all medicines out of reach of our baby. Professor Smith's fashion sense is hopelessly out of date. If the copy machine is out of order, please contact the customer service center. The situation is getting out of hand. I'm no longer in control. Her remarks are always to the point. The Japanese economy has been recovering little by little. All at once we heard a scream. You don't have to give me your answer on the spot. After the long mountain climb, I went home and fell asleep in no time. I was passing by the office when I overheard John talking behind my back. She is second to none in her class in English. On second thought, I'd better do it. Ms. Kato is a famous designer, and in her opinion, long skirts will be in fashion this year. I didn't agree with everything he said at first, but in a sense his argument is right. As a rule, I get up at 7 o'clock every morning. On the whole, I had a happy childhood growing up in the country. He did as much as he could, but he got nothing in the end. Her sister makes money by playing the violin. In other words, she is a professional musician. I'm not tired. On the contrary, I could walk for miles. We have heard nothing to the contrary. Hanako says she's happy in Yokohama. Oh, and by the way, she has a new job. Everything was exciting to me when I visited Spain for the first time. You can keep buying on your credit card for the time being, but you'll have trouble paying those bills later. Jenny's parents visited their daughter from time to time when she lived in Kyoto. This flower does not need much care except for water once in a while. All of a sudden, it started to rain heavily. My old friend called me out of the blue. His efforts bore fruit in the long run. Could you turn it the other way around? The manager's proposal was out of the question. As a matter of fact, I have been to London 4 times. The job wasn't very interesting, but on the other hand, it was well paid. From a more realistic point of view, this plan will need some big changes.
Chapter 25. The train was delayed 30 minutes because of a heavy rainfall. He failed the examination 3 times due to his laziness. The meeting was canceled owing to the bad weather. Farms are going bankrupt on account of the crisis in agriculture. Thanks to her support, I was able to finish writing this report on time. In spite of its advantages, there are hardly any companies that are willing to try the new system. With all his faults, he is still a gentleman. For all his honesty, they say bad things about him. Anyone may join the tennis club regardless of how well they can play the game. He went to Paris for the purpose of studying music. We bought the cottage with a view to moving there when we retire. Mr. Suzuki gave up smoking for the sake of his health. Water must be thought of in terms of the chains of life it supports. In regard to this project, my opinion differs from yours. As regards that, I cannot agree with you. Some people complained, but as for me, I'm perfectly satisfied. Frank was very uncertain as to whether it was the job for him. Professor Smith always divides people into 6 groups according to the tasks they can perform. Contrary to his expectations, Peter ran out of money halfway through his vacation. Apart from their house in Los Angeles, they also have an apartment in New York. He was deaf to everything other than what he wanted to hear. It's up to each of you to help make the project a success. In addition to being a librarian, her brother works as a taxi driver. In comparison with Spanish, English spelling is rather difficult. She won her position by virtue of her hard work. My friend is going to fly back to California by way of Hawaii. These are the ruins the professor was in search of. Next Tuesday, a concert will be held in honor of the 10th anniversary of the founding of our school. Most people in the room were in favor of the anti-smoking campaign. John wore a sweater in place of a jacket. I gave my old computer to a friend and said to her, "In case of any trouble, you can always give me a ring." Mr. Tanaka is in charge of the new project. He made a speech on behalf of the committee. I'm willing to give you some money in return for your labor. I was very impressed at the sight of the Statue of Liberty. The poor people in this area are completely at the mercy of their circumstances. We want to increase our manufacturing output, but not at the expense of the environment. The students were walking in the direction of the sea. In the event of an emergency, please proceed calmly to the nearest exit.
第26章会話表現
Section 239.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
How have you been?
Not too bad.
How's it going?
Pretty good, thanks.
What's up?
Not much.
Hi, I'm Frank Williams. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Frank. I'm Claire Parker. Nice to meet you, too.
Nice meeting you.
Nice talking to you, too.
Long time no see. How have you been?
Not too bad. How about you?
Where are you from?
I'm from Kagoshima.
Where do you come from?
I'm from Kagoshima.
Who do you work for?
I work for ABC Company.
I've got to go now.
Why don't you stay a little longer?
I must go now.
Why don't you stay a little longer?
See you.
Have a nice day.
I'll be seeing you.
Have a nice day.
Take care.
So long.
Take it easy.
So long.
I'm going shopping with my sister today.
Oh, have fun. Say hello to your sister.
I'm going shopping with my sister today.
Oh, have fun. Remember me to your sister.
I'm going shopping with my sister today.
Oh, have fun. Give my regards to your sister.
Have a nice weekend.
Thanks. You too.
Have a nice weekend.
Thanks. Same to you.
Section 240.
Thanks a lot for inviting me to dinner.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me to dinner.
You're welcome.
Would you like some coffee?
Oh, I've got to go now. Thanks anyway.
Would you like some coffee?
Oh, I've got to go now. Thanks just the same.
I'll help you with your homework.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I brought you a birthday present.
Wow, it's very nice of you.
Thanks for the advice.
Don't mention it.
Thanks for the advice.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting.
That's okay. I just got here.
Excuse me, but you dropped your handkerchief.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Never mind.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Don't worry.
Section 241.
Would you mind if I opened the window?
No, not at all.
I wonder if I could borrow your car.
No problem.
I would appreciate it if you could tell me more about your plan.
Okay, but I've got to go now. I'll email you later.
Could you do me a favor?
Sure, what is it?
Could you lend me your notebook computer? My PC is broken. May I ask a favor of you?
Sure, what is it?
Could you lend me your notebook computer? My PC is broken. Could you drive me home?
I'd be happy to.
Could you drive me home?
I'd love to.
May I ask you a question?
Sure, what is it?
Do you mind if I leave the table?
Okay, go ahead.
May I sit here?
By all means.
Section 242.
There is a lot of traffic on this road.
Why don't you try another road?
What do you want to do this weekend?
How about going bowling?
What do you want to do this weekend?
What do you say to going bowling?
May I join you?
Why not?
Why don't we take a break?
Sounds good.
Why don't we take a break?
Sounds like a good idea.
Section 243.
How do you like my new shirt?
You look great.
How do you feel about the room now?
It's so comfortable.
What do you think about the movie?
I really like it.
What do you think?
Nothing in particular. I guess your teacher will get angry with you sooner or later.
What do you mean, Mom? Just get to the point.
You've been late for school so often these days.
Section 244.
I think I've caught a cold.
That's too bad.
We lost the game.
What a shame.
Do you know the rules of rugby?
I have no idea.
I won the singing contest.
Good job.
I won the singing contest.
Well done.
I won the singing contest.
Good for you.
I've just passed my driving test.
Congratulations.
I'm getting married.
Come on, you're kidding.
I'm getting married.
Come on, no kidding.
I decided to study abroad after I graduate from high school.
Are you serious?
I mean it.
Section 245.
Would you like another coffee?
No thanks.
Would you like another coffee?
No thank you.
Do you want to see a movie tonight?
No way. I have a test tomorrow. I have to study tonight.
How about going out for lunch?
I wish I could, but I have another appointment.
I think you should exercise more.
I know what you mean, but I don't have enough time these days.
Section 246.
Guess what?
What?
Jane is getting married to Tom.
You know what? Tomorrow is Mom's birthday.
I almost forgot. Let's get a present for her.
When is it convenient for you?
Let me see. How about Tuesday at 7?
Section 247.
Life sometimes feels like it's hard to live.
That's for sure.
Life sometimes feels like it's hard to live.
That's right.
Did you enjoy the movie?
Definitely. I've never seen such a good movie.
Today's meeting was so boring.
I couldn't agree more.
That was the best dinner I've ever had.
You can say that again.
That was the best dinner I've ever had.
You said it.
When can we meet? How about at 5 in front of the library?
That will be fine. See you then.
Section 248.
May I help you?
Yes. Can I see that camera, please?
May I help you?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm just looking.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm looking for a present for my father.
Do you have anything in mind? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cash or charge?
I'll pay in cash.
Section 249.
May I take your order?
2 coffees, please.
Are you ready to order?
2 coffees, please.
Have you been waited on?
No, not yet. Can I have the menu, please?
Have you been served?
No, not yet. Can I have the menu, please?
Would you like some more?
No, thank you. I've had enough.
Would you like some more?
No, thank you. I'm full.
I'll have the chicken sandwich.
Same here, please.
I'll have the chicken sandwich.
Same for me, please.
Shall we split the bill?
No, I'll pay tonight. Today's your birthday.
The dinner was great. How much should I pay?
Don't worry about it. It's on me. For here or to go?
For here, please. How much is it?
$9.
Here's $10. Keep the change.
Section 250.
Excuse me, but how can I get to the airport?
Take the number 88 bus.
Could you tell me how to get to the ABC bookstore?
Go straight down this street. You'll find it on the right. You can't miss it.
Section 251.
Hello, may I speak to Tom?
Can I have your name? Could I talk to Tom?
This is he.
Could I talk to Tom?
Speaking.
May I talk to John Smith?
Who's calling, please?
This is Yuko Yamada speaking. May I talk to John Smith?
Who is this, please?
This is Yuko Yamada speaking.
May I talk to Mr. Smith?
I'm sorry, he's in a meeting now. Can I take a message? Hello, John. Can I talk to you now?
I've got a lot of stuff to do right now. Can I call you back in 5 minutes? Hello, this is ABC Publishing Company. How may I help you?
This is Mary Smith. Could you put me through to Mr. Johnson?
May I talk to Mr. Carpenter?
Hold on, please.
May I talk to Mr. Carpenter?
Please hold the line.
Could I speak to Mr. Williams?
I'm sorry, he is out now. Can I take a message?
May I talk to Mr. Suzuki?
I'm sorry, he is on another line.
Did you reach Tom?
No, the line is busy.
Hello, is this Mr. Smith?
No, I'm afraid you have the wrong number.
Section 252.
What's wrong? You look pale.
I have a slight fever.
What's up with you? You look sick.
I have a bad headache.
Are you okay? You didn't eat much.
I have no appetite.
Are you okay? You didn't eat much.
I have lost my appetite.
Aren't you feeling well?
I think I have a cold.
Section 253.
Do you have the time?
Yes, it's 6 p.m.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you for your help. Tom, dinner is ready.
I'm coming, Mom.
Would you like chicken or fish?
Pardon?
Would you like chicken or fish?
Chicken, please.
Would you like chicken or fish?
Excuse me?
Would you like chicken or fish?
Chicken, please. Pass me the salt, please.
Sure, here you go.
Pass me the salt, please.
Sure, here it is.
Here we are.
It was a long drive.
Will you be able to go camping with us this weekend?
It depends. I'll need to find someone to look after my dog.
After you.
That's very kind of you.
What happened to Claire?
None of your business.
What happened to Claire?
Mind your own business.
I don't think we will arrive there on time.
If we run, we can make it.
You eat too much ice cream.
I know, but I can't help it. I love it so much.
Chapter 27. Be sure to take vitamin tablets every morning. Have you decided where we will hold the birthday party for Mitsuo? He may be fired soon because his boss will no longer tolerate his tardiness. Walter found it difficult to tell the truth, so he had to invent a story. Many developing countries are facing serious drinking water shortages. It's only a small house, but it meets my needs perfectly. What do you think of Mr. Owen's proposal for cutting costs in the factory? I like his idea, but I don't think it will work very well. For their safety and the safety of others, drivers must observe the traffic rules. Our bus was caught in a traffic jam, so we were late for the meeting. Excuse me, but can you tell me how to get to the post office?
I'm sorry, but I'm a stranger around here, so I don't know.
Robert had no money in his bank account. Thieves broke into the safe and stole everything in it. Do you have a particular end in mind? What are you trying to achieve? Everyone is worried that the company will be losing a lot of money, but that subject was not discussed at the meeting. Learning the language is a must if you really want to understand a foreign culture. Tom is the very image of his father 30 years ago. She always looks nice, don't you think?
Yeah, I think she has very good taste in clothes.
She has a good command of French. Last night a news program was on the air instead of the weekly drama. After his passionate speech, we gave the speaker a big hand. Why don't you give her a ring? My brother's wife is away for the week, so I thought I'd go over and keep him company. We have absolutely no idea what time she will turn up. I don't have the slightest idea what Paige looks like. We received a letter from that company to the effect that they could not accept our offer. The traffic was so heavy that it took us more than 2 hours to get to the airport. I arrived here early today because the traffic was lighter than usual. I'm sorry I'm late. I had a flat tire. He couldn't use his cellular phone because the battery was dead. I like my coffee weak. The fog was so thick that my flight was canceled. Stress-related illnesses are very common among middle-aged businessmen. In my school, when a regular teacher is absent, another teacher teaches the class instead. How is your steak, Jack? Is it tender?
No, it's very tough.
I skied every day for 5 days straight.
The carpenters haven't quite finished the job yet. The fog was so thick that the driver could barely see the traffic. The cups and saucers cost $5 and $7 respectively. You can buy tickets for the football game individually or in groups of 4. Kate has released a book which includes 5 short stories. 2 Californian towns, Davis and Palo Alto, have banned smoking in public space. The man at the service center said he could not fix my car. Marilyn asked me so charmingly that I could hardly refuse her request. The principal managed to keep the students' interest until the end of her speech. My favorite actor played an important part in the drama. It has been almost a decade since I married my husband. The safety of nuclear power is a major concern in most advanced countries of the world today. The governor wanted time to study the consequences of global warming. As civilization grew more complex, better methods of communication were needed. Many people believe that automobiles are essential to modern life. The year 1776 is a very significant one in American history. It is the year the country was born. You should be careful not to make a fundamental mistake in writing. We have sufficient time because the train leaves at 10:30. The results of both experiments were identical. An annual meeting is held once a year. Although I was going to be rather busy on that day, I decided to accept the invitation to the party. Jane works part-time as a pianist at a restaurant, and she earns $500 a week. The rumor is spreading that a shopping mall will open in that vacant lot next year. The game on the main court was interrupted by a brief shower. Brett has many spare time activities. He swims, paints, plays the violin, and so on. The new airport is very busy. There are more than 100 arrivals and departures every day. Usually in Aomori, there is a considerable amount of snow in the month of January. In summer, with air conditioners on all day, electricity consumption rises sharply. Because the storm had left so many people homeless, there was a shortage of beds at the shelter. Our new house is in the middle of the town and has good access to the shops. Mario passed his driving test on his first attempt. Don't blame me for what happened. It wasn't my fault. It's a shame your wife couldn't come. I really wanted to meet her. Our multilingual cabin crew will assist you in any way they can. We have to find solutions to the world's environmental problems.
The flowers on the table were so beautiful. When I touched them, however, I found they were artificial. John is looking for a flexible job because he wants more time with his family. Our PE teacher, a former professional basketball player, is coaching the school team.
Is he a very reliable person?
Yes, he is. He never breaks promises, and he always pays money back if he borrows it. Mary is a generous person. She always lends us money when we need. It becomes more doubtful that human activity is the main cause of global warming when it is also observed on Mars and other planets. I asked the hotel if they have a room available for 3 nights. I confirmed the hotel reservation by telephone. The department store extended the sale until Monday. Things are happening a lot faster than anyone predicted. I hadn't seen Emmy for years, but when I saw her in the street, I recognized her at once. I have to get my commuter pass renewed because it expires tomorrow. There are more than 50 employees in this company. By 2010, Japan will pass Sweden and Switzerland to lead the world in the proportion of the elderly to the rest of the population. Patty got permission from her boss to leave work early. He can never hide his strong preference for sweets. In many countries, it is illegal to sell alcohol drinks to people under 18. When I saw her before the exam, she seemed very confident about it. This is a suitable place for a picnic. Today, 60% of disposable waste in Japan consists of packaging. There is some problem with my car and it is being repaired. I need to find some alternative kind of transportation.
Chapter 28. I'm sure he will come, but why not give him a call just in case? Jane said Mark is sick. If that is the case, we need more staff for today. She missed her family badly since she had been away from home for 2 years. I'm absolutely starving. I missed lunch. You should stand up when an elderly person needs a seat on the train. I cannot stand his behavior. He always talks too much and never listens to others. I took a break from mowing the lawn because I was tired. Bill asked the cashier to break a $100 bill. My apartment is close to the station. It's really convenient. Will you close the door? It's cold in here. I think my interview went pretty smoothly. Mary wore a pretty blue dress to the dance. You should sit down and rest for a while. Mr. Wang is Chinese and the rest of us are Japanese. Canada is the second biggest country in the world, but much of it is almost empty of people. Are you coming?
Just a second. I have to put my shoes on.
He went to the store to buy some groceries. I store my winter clothes in this closet. He bought the current issue of that magazine. The current in the river was very strong. Some scientists wonder if catfish can sense an earthquake before it occurs. Dogs have a keen sense of smell. That is true in a sense. I'm sorry that I can't run so fast. 2 of my friends run nice restaurants. He will run for president in the next election. He was sick yesterday, but today he looked just fine. A fine rain was falling. She had to pay a fine for illegal parking. What line of business is he in? Hold the line, please. I'll put you through to Mr. Smith. She had to line up speakers for the conference. Can you reach that box on the top shelf? If I see her, I'll tell her you've been trying to reach her. Keep chemicals out of the reach of children.
I have written several novels in the last 5 years. He is the last person to do such a foolish thing. The battery for this shaver will last about 1 year. The ball game was played on a clear day. It quickly became clear why he was chosen class president. After a long flight, David wanted to clear customs quickly. He was given a great deal of work to do. I made a deal with him to teach me Spanish in exchange for my teaching him guitar. As manager of the office, I have to deal with all sorts of problems every day. In her present state of mind, she cannot make a decision. Hawaii is the only island state of the USA. You should state your opinion clearly. Critics point out that the prince, on his income, should be paying tax. The supports beneath the iron bridge have decayed to the point where they are hazardous. Let's stick to discussing whether the road should be built at all. The exact cost is beside the point. There is still wide disagreement among doctors as to the cause of the disease. Some people are enthusiastic about raising a fund in support of a good cause, such as a charity. Eating too much fat is considered to cause heart disease. Please bear in mind that the meeting starts early tomorrow. He must be out of his mind to do such a thing. Do you mind my smoking? I heard the station announcement, "Mind the gap." This exam will be over in 10 minutes. She was over 80 when she started learning English. Let's talk over a cup of tea. She is crying over the loss of her dog. It was quite right of you to refuse the offer. If you face the north, the east is on your right. Might is right. The criminal is revealed right at the beginning of the film. My father earns a 6-figure salary. He's become a public figure. Mickey is a figure skater. I can't figure out why she said so. Her husband is so mean with money. Rembrandt lived in a mean house in a mean street. What does that sign mean? This new project will mean working overtime. He had a sound sleep last night. A sound mind in a sound body. My dog went out of the house without making a sound. The two words son and son sound the same, but they are spelled differently. The opera singer had to give up the title role in Carmen due to a bad cold. The report is due on Wednesday, but I haven't even started to write it. The matter will be settled in due course of time. The professor was satisfied because he was treated with due respect. Her first baby is due in June.
第30章アクセント
Step 1. 1. Balance. Challenge. Comment. Damage. Image. Message. Manage. Equal. Instant. Major. Modern. Pattern. Process. Sandwich. Standard. Volume. Arrow. Comfort. Commerce. Differ. Income. Offer. Product. Southern. Surface. 2. Advice. Career. Cement. Control. Design. Dessert. Event. Guitar. Hotel. Machine. Parade. Percent. Police. Routine. Success. Technique. Unique. Typhoon. Admire. Allow. Canal. Command. Commit. Complete. Concern. Demand. Extreme. Maintain. Neglect. Occur. Polite. Prefer. Provide. Refer. Submit. Survive. Step 2. 1. Accident. Alphabet. Amateur. Average. Calendar. Character. Hamburger. Chocolate. Delicate. Accurate. Adequate. Appetite. Celebrate. Concentrate. Demonstrate. Educate. Fascinate. Hesitate. Imitate. Opposite. Separate. Separate. Ultimate. Exercise. Interval. Interview. Journalism. Management. Manager. Manifest. Orchestra. Penalty. Uniform. Universe. veteran, sympathy, attitude, constitute, substitute, organize, recognize, photograph, ancestor, atmosphere, beautiful, circumstance, consequence, Democrat, energy, furniture, government, ignorance, ignorant, industry, infamous, influence, innocent, instrument, interest, medicine, microscope, obstacle, origin, passenger, politics, preference, relative, sacrifice, satisfy, signature. 2. Advantage, convenience, delicious, dramatic, idea, museum, musician, official, percentage, romantic, religion, essential, courageous, religious, sufficient, apparent, consider, continue, contribute, develop, distinguish, endeavor, familiar, horizon, important, interpret, occurrence, proposal, remember. 3. Engineer, pioneer, volunteer, guarantee, entertain, interfere, interrupt, introduce, recommend, represent, understand. Step 3. 1. Delicacy, elevator, operator, supermarket, television, vegetable, admirable, agriculture, architecture, comfortable, complicated, difficulty, interesting, literature, necessary. 2. Accessory, appreciate, barometer, community, variety, activity, anxiety, authority, majority, necessity, democracy, economy, astronomy, intelligence, mysterious, original, photographer, technology, biology, thermometer, experience, communicate, illuminate, investigate, participate, alternative, available, biography, comparison, development, discovery, economist, environment, experiment, geography, industrial, interpreter, material, particular, phenomenon, philosophy, political, ridiculous. 3. Continental, oriental, competition, politician, influential, academic, democratic, economic, economics, electronic, mathematics, scientific, sympathetic, European. Step 4. 1. Contemporary, immediately, refrigerator. 2. Curiosity, electricity, opportunity, intellectual, individual, satisfactory. 3. Characteristic. Step 5. Conduct, conduct, content, content, contract, contract, contrast, contrast, desert, desert, export, export, import, import, insult, insult, object, object, present, present, produce, produce, progress, progress, project, project, record, record, subject, subject, suspect, suspect.
アクセントのルール。
Rule 1. 1. Picturesque, technique, fatigue. 2. Guarantee, career, shampoo, typhoon.
Committee.
3. Accidental, fundamental. Rule 2. 1. Efficient, sufficient. 2. Conscious, experience.
Science.
3. Scientific, dramatic, mathematics, economics, political, mechanical.
Politics. Arabic. Catholic.
4. Anxiety, variety, necessity, capacity. 5. Advantageous, spontaneous, mysterious, obvious. 6. Attitude, magnitude, constitute, substitute. 7. Artificial, beneficial, essential, influential, punctual, habitual, individual, gradual.
Spiritual.
8. Politician, musician, decision, ambition, superstition, suggestion, religion. 9. Aggressive, exclusive. 10. Damage, image, manage. 11. Democracy, biology, technology, economy, astronomy. 12. Barometer, diameter.
Centimeter. Millimeter.
13. Sympathy, antipathy. Rule 3. 1. Appreciate, appropriate, concentrate, opposite, definite. 2. Compromise, recognize. 3. Photograph, telegraph. 4. Criticism, mechanism. 5. Analysis, emphasis.
Oasis 1. Alone. Both. Cold. Folk. Globe. Home. Host. Most. Only. Open. Post. Rose. Whole. Approach. Boat. Coast. Float. Goal. Loan. Road. Soap. Throat. Toast. Arrow. Below. Blow. Bowl. Crow. Flow. Grow. Growth. Know. Low. Own. Throw. Although. Shoulder. Soul. Though. So. Toe.
第29章発音
Step 1. Sample question 1.
1. Abroad. 2. Approach. 3. Coast. 4. Throat. 1. Abroad. 2. Approach. 3. Coast. 4. Throat. 2. Audience. Author. Caught. Cause. Daughter. Dawn. Fault. Law. Pause. Taught. Abroad. Broad. Bought. Brought. Fought. Ought. Sought. Thought. 3. Proud. Foul. Pound. Ground. Ounce. South. Drought. Allowed. Allow. Brow. Cow. Crowd. Crown. Drown. Owl.
Sample question 2.
1. Crown. 2. Allow. 3. Crow. 4. Allowed. 1. Crown. 2. Allow. 3. Crow. 4. Allowed. 4. Color. Come. Comfort. Company. Dove. Front. Glove. Government. Honey. Money. Monkey. Mother. Nothing. Onion. Oven. Sun. Stomach. Tongue. One. Wonder. Blood. Flood. Country. Couple. Cousin. Double. Enough. Rough. Southern. Touch. Tough. Trouble. young. Accustom, button, culture, custom, cut, fund, funny, gulf, punish, thumb, tunnel.
Sample question 3.
1. Brother. 2. Cousin. 3. Double. 4. Honest. 1. Brother. 2. Cousin. 3. Double. 4. Honest. 5. Body. Bomb. Bother. Box. Collar. Colleague. College. Cotton. Modern. Novel. Popular. Possible. Knowledge. Calm. Father. 6. Accurate. Add. Admirable. Ancestor. Apple. Atmosphere. Calendar. Channel. Damage. Examine. Happen. Manager. Pattern. Salad. Salmon. Ant. Laugh. Guarantee.
Sample question 4.
1. Fashion. 2. Action. 3. Calm. 4. Sample. 1. Fashion. 2. Action. 3. Calm. 4. Sample. 7. Argue. Farther. Farm. Hard. Part. Star. Heart.
Sample question 5.
1. Heart. 2. Herd. 3. Hurt. 4. Early. 1. Heart. 2. Herd. 3. Hurt. 4. Early. 8. Early. Earth. Herd. Learn. Pearl. Bird. Dirty. First. Hurt. Occur. Purchase. Shirt. Surface. Term. Turn. Word. Work. Worship. 9. Course. Pour. Source. Floor. War. Warm.
Sample question 6.
1. Tower. 2. Flower. 3. Flower. 4. Floor. 1. Tower. 2. Flower. 3. Flower. 4. Floor. 10. Flower. Hour. Sour. Flower. Tower. 11. Repair. Fair. Fair. Hair. Bear. Pair. Wear.
Sample question 7.
1. Fair. 2. Bear. 3. Pair. 4. Gear. 1. Fair. 2. Bear. 3. Pair. 4. Gear. 12. Beard. Clear. Dear. Fear. Gear. Here. Near. Career. Here. 13. Wolf. Woman. Foot. Hood. Shook. Stood. Wood. Wool.
Sample question 8.
1. Fool. 2. Hood. 3. Wool. 4. Wood. 1. Fool. 2. Hood. 3. Wool. 4. Wood. 14. Bamboo. Bloom. Boom. Boot. Choose. Food. Goose. Mood. Root. Shoot. Tool. Group. Root. Soup. Through. Wounded. Youth. Flute. Rude. Grew. Flew. Prove. Tomb. Fruit. 15. Bread. Breakfast. Breast. Breath. Cleanse. Deaf. Dealt. Feather. Head. Health. Healthy. Heaven. Instead. Jealous. Leather. Meadow. Meant. Peasant. Realm. Spread. Steady. Sweat. Thread. Threat. Tread. Weapon. Weather. Dedicate. Delicate. Said. Berry.
Sample question 9.
Bread. 1. Great. 2. Treat. 3. Leather. 4. Defeat. Bread. 1. Great. 2. Treat. 3. Leather. 4. Defeat. 16. Ancient. Change. Chaos. Danger. Label. Major. Nature. Radio. Sacred. Stadium. Taste. Vague. Freight. Weigh. Weight. Break. Great. Stake. Brain. 17. Appreciate. Decent. Equal. Evil. Meter. Recent. Secret. Species. Theme. Vehicle. Breathe. Cheat. Creature. Feature. Increase. increase, league, least, peace, peach, peak, release, treat, ceiling, receipt, seize, police, unique. 18. Driven, image, risen, window, women, business, busy, typical. 19. Alive, climate, horizon, polite, precise, private, height, guide, comfort. 20. Arch, chalk, chamber, charge, charity, chase, cheer, choice, chapter, church, search. Ache, architect, chaos, chemical, chemistry, chorus, monarch, scheme, scholar, stomach, machine.
Step 2. Sample question 10.
1. Chemistry. 2. Church. 3. Stomach. 4. Chaos. 1. Chemistry. 2. Church. 3. Stomach. 4. Chaos. 21. Bathe, breathe, northern, smooth, thus, worthy, bath, breath, method, month, north, path, sympathy, theory, thin, thirsty, thrill, through, worth.
Sample question 11.
1. Smooth. 2. Worthy. 3. Bathe. 4. Method. 1. Smooth. 2. Worthy. 3. Bathe. 4. Method. 22. Exact, examine, executive, exhaust, exhibit, exist, excuse, excuse, exhibition.
Sample question 12.
1. Exact. 2. Exhaust. 3. Excuse. 4. Exist. 1. Exact. 2. Exhaust. 3. Excuse. 4. Exist. 23. Asked. Looked. Watched. Naked. Wicked.
Sample question 13.
1. Naked. 2. Watched. 3. Looked. 4. Asked. 1. Naked. 2. Watched. 3. Looked. 4. Asked. 24. Cough. Rough. tough, ghost, height, neighbor, sight.
Sample question 14.
1. Tough. 2. Rough. 3. Ghost. 4. Cough. 1. Tough. 2. Rough. 3. Ghost. 4. Cough. 25. Cease. Closely. Increase. Increase. Loose. Message. Passage. Purpose. Advise. Cosmos. Dessert. Disease. Lose. News. Possess. Scissors. Tease. Assure. Mission. Sugar. Sure. Leisure. Measure. Occasion. Pleasure. Treasure. Vision.
Sample question 15.
1. Loose. 2. Advise. 3. Cease. 4. Message. 1. Loose. 2. Advise. 3. Cease. 4. Message. 26. Eager. Game. Gift. Energy. Ginger. Oxygen. Region.
Sample question 16.
1. Eager. 2. Energy. 3. Ginger. 4. Region. 1. Eager. 2. Energy. 3. Ginger. 4. Region. 27. Advice. Cease. Certain. Circus. Civil. Scene. Science. Ancient. Social. Conscious.
Sample question 17.
1. Ancient. 2. Circus. 3. Civil. 4. Science. 1. Ancient. 2. Circus. 3. Civil. 4. Science. 28. Fatigue. Guest. Guilty. Vague. Distinguish. Language.
Sample question 18.
1. Fatigue. 2. Distinguish. 3. Guilty. 4. Vague. 1. Fatigue. 2. Distinguish. 3. Guilty. 4. Vague. 29. Patient. Punctual. Question. 30. Sing. Young. Anger. Angry. Finger. Single. 31. Shepherd.
Step 3.
Bomb. Climb. Comb. debt, doubt, subtle, muscle, handsome, exhibit, honest, honor, rhythm, knee, kneel, knife, night, salmon, autumn, column, psychology, receipt, island, castle, fasten, sword, wrinkle,
Step 4.
aisle, aisle, bear, bear, blue, blue, break, break, dear, dear, dessert, dessert, die, die, fair, fair, flower, flower, heel, heel, whole, whole, night, night, lane, lane, male, male, meat, meat, pear, pear, peace, peace, plain, plain, rain, rain, roll, roll, root, root, scene, scene, sell, sell, soul, soul, stare, stare, sweet, sweet, tail, tail, waste, waste, weak, weak, way, way, wait, wait, one, one, sight, 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 so, 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 scent, scent, scent,
Step 5.
bow, bow, close, close, desert, dessert, excuse, excuse, lead, lead, live, live, minute, minute, row, row, tear, tear, use, use, used, used, wind, wind, wound, wound,